Okay, we're live. Okay. What's up, guys? John Sentes here, Cutternation podcast, cast quite low. We got an awesome guest, Virgil Vasquez. But first, please rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. Don't forget to go check out our online store. We've got hats back in stock, shirts, live or die by your best pitch. Cass is rocking, looks like just the Cutternation logo. But all kinds of fun stuff there. I know we're in weird times, so we wanted to provide some more content and see if we can keep, some good ideas going forward. So without further ado, Virgil Vasquez, pitching coach of, minor league pitching coach with the Minnesota Twins organization and owner of Revolution Throwing. Yes. Yeah. How you doing, Virgil?
Yeah, good, man. Good to be here with you guys.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on. So why don't you give a quick history of yourself, introduce yourself to our audience. I became aware of you through a mutual friend, and I was really enamored with the idea that you have, and even off air before we were talking about some of the stuff. So, before we get too deep into the product Perfect Throw, why don't you just educate all of us on, your history in the game?
Yeah, I guess drafted 03 with the Tigers, got to the bigs with them. And then, played for 6 organizations, traveled around indie ball, couple countries, Venezuela, Mexico, played in Australia, just kind of played about 12 years of pro ball, mostly minor league career. But in my career, I always had this little feeling in my shoulder, like it was always just never fully recovering. And I felt like, throwing was supposed to hurt. Like if I throw, it's not supposed to feel good. I'm supposed to break, or, throwing is an unnatural movement. And when I became a coach, I learned I was helping this player, and I went and learned it from his pitching coach, and he taught me how to throw. And like, I was like, whoa, like it's supposed to feel like that. Like, really? So, I took that feeling, and my background is I used to lift a lot of weights. I went to Peak Performance Project for about 9 years. It's a facility here in Santa Barbara, and then I kind of transferred my movements over into Pilates, yoga, Qi-gong, Tai-chi, and then the Tai-chi and Qi-gong kind of movement theories really felt like a good foundation for me. And so I took this guy, he's like, hey, throw like you're throwing around a tree, come in and throw. I was like, what was that? So I took that, and then, I was a coach at the time, and it took me about a year to really master it. And I was going to Australia in the off seasons. And when I was going to Australia, I was just practicing this. I was like, okay, how can I bring this into the game? And it took a little bit, because you guys know, when you're in competing mode, it's we got to go. It's not about how am I throwing the ball. It's where am I throwing this, and I got to get you out. So through this process,
you can say get your ass out. Get your ass out.
Yeah, you can feel I was gonna say that, huh?
Yeah, for sure.
So through the process of teaching myself how to throw, I used many implements. I was filling PVC pipes with concrete. I was doing all kinds of things. Probably the same thing you guys do, is just how many implements can we use to really teach people how to throw. And then, it went to this. We had this catcher that turned pitcher, and he just needed help and understanding. And so used different tools, used different things, and ended up creating this for him, because he was really the one thing we see across the board is the understanding of throwing is people lift and turn away. You lift and turn away. And there's all this talk about the arm being late. And we like to talk about the relationship of the body to the arm rather than the arm to the body. So the body was early, because what we found is it's easier to slow down the body and allow the arm to have time rather than to speed the hand up. And so once you find that sequencing, then you can just, you move that sequencing, because you guys maybe you guys can tell me a little bit too, sequencing is key. When you're on time, and what are you on time to, and that's another question. That's a great question. It's when that hand comes inside of 90 and you create that whip, finding what are you on time to, and these different questions that we ask about throwing.
I have so much. John, say something.
That was great. Yeah. We had talked about, off here about, the momentum and you said there were different grips, to the perfect throw. In your experience with throwing, what type of thrower were you, in the game?
I threw I got to the big leagues on a fastball and a cutter. I topped out 96, but I was like a 90-mile-an-hour pitcher. Back in 2003, if you hit 90, you were top dog. You're like 90 mile an hour is like you're on the radar gun in college. You're like, I did it. I was touching 93s. It's a different game now, and people have more information. They know how the body moves. There's a lot going on that's really helping the game. But yeah, fastball, cutter, just the way my arm path worked when it was long, it was hard to throw a changeup. Tried for 10 years. Once I changed my arm path, the changeup was easy just because when you have a long arm, it's hard to get on the inside of the ball. And then also what I learned is like changing my arm path allowed me to create more spin and have a curveball too. So, but I want to say probably like you guys, just compete. It was like that focus, that routine. It takes a lot to get pro ball in the big leagues. It's it's everybody is like the hitter, not against your teammates, but playing and really just dialing yourself in so that you're ready for that moment.
I love the fastball cutter combination of what you're talking about. We've put out a bunch of combinations.
I know, Cutternation. That was my pitch, bro.
Yeah. Hey, so let me ask you this about the cutter. Were you able to change action on the cutter?
I did action, I did speed, I did shape, I did my
kind of guy right now. We're talking. This is my favorite part. Yeah.
I had Derek Nicholson was a big influence on me. This guy he was an older guy in A-ball with me, and he was like, the best pitch you can throw is a cutter inside to lefties. He's like, because it was my pitch anyways, and I was like, well, what do you mean? And he said, because he was a lefty, he's like, if I pull that foul, I can't hit it fair. I'm just trying to scare you. And I was like, all right. So he says, if you see him pull it foul, go back in there. Don't be afraid, because a lot of guys get afraid when that happens. I was like, okay. And you see some broken bats, this guy, whoa, and he pulls it like a homer foul, and you're like, oh no, but you're like, no, it's supposed to happen. Let's go again, bro. And but that was my pitch. I could throw up, down, both sides of the plate. It was.
Did you front door it to righties?
Oh yeah. To righties. I never figured out how to set that one up. I don't know. Mine didn't.
I need to make a video on that, because that's something that I figured out.
Well, where were you on the rubber?
Career. Yeah,
where were you on the rubber?
Yeah, were you third base or first base?
I was third base side most of my career, and then the end of the career I was right in the middle.
Why was that? Let me ask you that. Why did you move to the other side?
Because of my curveball. Yeah, and it I don't know why. It's just because on the third base side, I was over there, and it was fastball in righty, cutter, and then it was cutter into lefty, and I just moved over to get into the lefties a little bit, and just to throw that. I don't know, something about the curveball really helped. Yeah. Where'd you guys stand?
I did the same thing for the same reason.
Yeah,
I just
didn't have a cutter, but I'm a
hard.
slider.
I was trying to create extreme angles because I'm a cutter, slider, curve, slur, all of them, right? Like you said, shape and speed, that's what I'm trying to do. So, I didn't make it to the level you did, but being down in Mexico, I'm pretty much coming in and facing whatever 4-hole import. You know how it is down there.
Yeah.
Right. And I know I'm coming in throwing bangers, just depending on, what level of speed game I'm playing. Am I going, hard cutter to slider to curveball? Am I going curveball, cutter, slider? Am I going curveball, fastball, curveball? Just changing speed ranges is as big as I can. So, I love that idea. The down and in cutter, that we talk about this all the time, making guys swing and feel comfortable and feel, confident about hitting a pitch, especially if you pull it foul, and having the ability to recognize that early. We're trying to get kids to recognize that this is a game. And it sounds like you understand that too, from the earliest age of 10, you need to be able to understand that your ultimate goal is to strike the guy out as a pitcher. Yes, you're allowed to do it. It's fun, right? You know.
Yes.
You
Strikeouts are the best, bro.
that needs to be on the shirt. That's just like, that should be Revolution Throwing. You know, that's your new tagline. Strikeouts are fun, bro.
Dude, okay, so this year it was my first year having, well, I had GCL, but my first full season with my own team. And I had a meeting before the season, and what I told them, I said, I love strikeouts. I want you guys to strike everybody out. I don't care what you throw. I was like, do it. And we set a record for strikeouts in our franchise, bro. We just like punching tickets. We said punching tickets, and then we had punchies. I started bringing out like a ticket puncher, hole puncher. I bought tickets, so every time they punched someone out, I gave them 3 tickets for a reliever, 2 for a starter, and then we had like a punchy store at the end of the month.
Dude, Virgil, I want you to think about you're talking about professional baseball, and you're pulling elementary level style of motivation. You know what I mean? And meanwhile, we got high school coaches that want to be full military, yes sir, no sir. And like you're just accessing that inner child at a professional level, and I'm sure you set the records. So it's, to me, I'm like,
it was fun.
Is that good?
Strikeout baseball. It sounds like I want to play for the Twins. Like, you need a guy.
Man, it was so fun. Like every month we had the punchy store, and I'd go to the store and buy a bunch of things. You come with your tickets, you buy something. And
it's like the arcade.
I don't know how long it was gonna last. I was gonna do it this year again if we had a season. But maybe AA, maybe it teeters out. I don't know. Maybe something else shows up. But yeah, it was fun, man. The last one we had, the big league club, he was gracious enough and he donated some fresh tops, like sweatshirts and stuff. So everyone came in, they got to buy some sweatshirts. It was sick. It was cool.
It was cool. That was cool. I really like the environments you're creating there. And I just, one of the things that we talk about going through, young athletes' careers, these different levels and different styles of coaching that they're going to reach. Right. Yeah. And it always, my pitching coaches have been very similar to you, but I just, like I said, I didn't play a lot in the States. So in Mexico, I just had completely different people than what I thought was going to happen. Everybody was like, well, whatever you want to do, like, you're throwing the ball, you have to take accountability, I don't see that level of confidence in the States. You've played around, what was your biggest difference in the States and international, where you played in Venezuela and Mexico? What's the biggest thing you noticed with the game?
The first thing that comes to mind is like that, like, I don't know if it's the competitiveness, right? There, I don't know. It's just it's like a livelihood competitiveness over there. Here, it's like I'm trying to get somewhere with it. I'm trying to master it. But internationally, it was like, I'm gonna kill you. I'm not gonna kill you, but it was like, it felt like that. That's what it was. I remember I was in Venezuela. It was the end of my career, and I faced this big leaguer, and I was like, I don't have that energy anymore. Like, it wasn't that I wasn't pitching, but like the level that he was competing against me at, I was like a pawn. I was just a pawn. I could feel it. And I'm like, I don't have that anymore. And you're a big leaguer now. Like, it was a sign.
Yeah. I get it for sure.
Yeah. Did you see the same thing? Did you guys both play internationally?
So I did cast it, but the biggest thing that I'll agree with that, the competitiveness. It was I remember being, I played a little bit indie ball, and then I went down south, and I had some friends that were in affiliated ball, and I remember talking to them, and they were asking me, what was the difference in the States like that? And I was like, honestly, I feel like the competitiveness, like, you're telling me you're going 4 or 5 innings and you're trying to get your work in. And I got this Venezuelan dude jumping out of the box to foul the ball off, to not strike out on probably the nastiest slider I've ever thrown. So, it just looks like that they're literally, like you said, they're playing for their job. They're, and understanding the contracts on the lower side, the level that I was at, we were signing 2-week contracts. And so if you could, me from the States, you got Dominicans, Venezuelans, like you got to perform or you're gone. You know, we saw some guys that would show up for a temporary weekend and, you know, hit a bomb in a weekend and still not sign, and they would go with somebody else. Or, you know, they use the Phantom DL crazy, you know, where it's basically a revolving door for what they think they need, you know, whether a guy gets paid or not. He's just sitting there waiting. So, you know, it's a whole different level of competitiveness just to get the job as well as play the game down there too.
We had a guy come in town. It was a hitter. And I don't know if he wasn't what they expected. He was there for 2 weeks. So like, here's your money. So you're going, like, see you later. The guy's like, what'd I do? You know, it's like, he didn't hit for the first 2 weeks. He just didn't do it. Like,
exactly.
Here's your month's salary. We're going to go get somebody else.
Yeah. I saw, I distinctly remember a pitcher showing up for the weekend, and like he started the weekend off. I think he had 2 punchies to start off the inning. And then we everything's good. And I think he gave up a double with 2 outs and then got out of it. And then the next time it was just like 6 hits in a row. And then he packed his stuff up at the end of the game. I was like, dude, this guy was here for 48 hours. What is going on? You know, but, you know, into the run, you know, they're looking for one guy that comes in that's hot. You know, it almost makes sense if you're looking at it as the big picture on the team, where I saw we needed some help in the pen. So it's one of those hard things where you're like, yeah, I hope this guy works out.
Yeah. I don't. It's like you said, they come in like, throw whatever you want, you know, just win, you know, and you know, I guess one thing about, you know, my teams that I know in my organization is, you know, it's about giving opportunity to learn how to do it too. You know, that stress of like, do it now can also sometimes hold you from being that, you know, and then the freedom to play and mess up and like, you're not going to go home in a week if you don't like, if you give up 3 hits, you know, like that, you know, I felt that inside myself. So that freedom to actually fail a little bit, I think does help a performer, especially when they're on a team. You guys have played for coaches like that, you were saying. So, like you it's like survive or die there, you know, kind of thing, like we're talking about. And here, I think it's a little more opportunity to, because people are doing it, but it's like kind of develop into a winner. It's like, you better be one, or, you know, it ain't gonna work.
And so here I go.
Ready to go.
As a Minnesota guy, being in player development in the fashion that I worked for Gene Larkin and Edina. I don't know if you know the name, but regardless, I always like just seeing pro guys. I saw a lot of guys that were just, I saw a lot of minor leaguers in the Twins organization, and I saw a lot of guys just in the AL Central in general. And so it was just really obvious coming from so I'm a Division III baseball player that was just been nonstop around the game since I decided to play Division III baseball. And so I really just didn't understand if I was like guessing right. I just didn't know how assertive I should be with my opinion. But basically what I saw was a lot of dudes that got fed things that was elementary. Like, so my whole entire perception of what was going on within the Twins organization until recently was like, they just didn't, player development wasn't even in the conversation. So I was actually going to say that before you even just said what you said, because what John was saying was, all I'm going is, those are the things that happen when player development is not even in the conversation. Right. And so it's been interesting to see. I don't have to know who you are. I don't have to know who the people behind the scenes are to know that when I watch the game, when I watch Twins games now, I know it's a different thing. Do you know what I mean? And then I hear this stuff with, I do my homework, and I know enough to know that, what the heck is it Wes at the big league level? His first name. Yeah. And he's a Florida Baseball Ranch guy. And then we've been having so many conversations with Randy. So I know that that's where that mindset comes from. We're having these conversations now here. And I don't mean to pick on the Twins. I mean to say it is really interesting. And I'm can't wait to hear your perspective from your side. I just feel like Major League Baseball has taken so freaking long to do this. And it's still appalling to me that it's not even common knowledge yet. Something as simple as, and this may be a hot button because it is for me, like the idea of hip and shoulder separation. Okay, that has been like, that's almost all of a sudden mainstream. It feels like, right? Almost mainstream. That idea is like 20 years old. Like literally, ASMI did that 20 years ago. And so what I struggle with too, and then I'll leave it at this. So I might be acting right now as if, oh, in the private sector, we've really got it figured out. I just think in general, what.
He might have got a phone call. He might have got a phone call or something. I'm not sure what happened. He was like going on a rant.
It was the finale too. I was for it.
He'll be back in here in just a second. So I think for what he's talking about is it always seems like Major League Baseball's had that boys club. I'm never, interesting enough, I was an affiliated guy. I'm not sure if you know my story, but I broke my elbow my senior in college. I was supposed to be drafted, and it didn't work out. But there we go.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Dude, I'm sorry. I'm in airplane mode now. What terrible timing. And I know John was doing a great job kicking up, and I'm gonna just keep running because I'm going. But it's the idea that there needs to be an authority. Somebody has to be the authority, and Major League Baseball has to be the authority. Like, I just don't know how to put it any other way, right? And I think that, I don't know. I have no idea what to do beyond that because it's just I become out of my lane when I start getting there. But that's the Minnesota fan. That's the fan version of me. Before I get into
a couple questions though.
Yeah.
You ended with the authority. They have to be the authority. I didn't fully understand that part. I guess we could start with that.
Okay, yeah. So like from an educational standpoint, where is a Little League baseball player going to get their information? And where are their parents going to get their information? And where is Little League Baseball going to get their information? Right? And so like the National Pitching Association isn't the authority. Like that's I'm not saying anything people know. I'm not saying anything derogatory here. Like MLB is the authority when it comes to disseminating this to the masses, right? So education is going to be the play ball stuff, the RBI baseball stuff, right? These are all what Major League Baseball has done, but they're supposed to, it just seems because like you would think that connection that's there the light bulb would have went off a long time ago. Like these literally are our future players, and that the information that we're providing these communities has serious implications to our dollars. And you just have to know that we're talking 10, 15, 20 years down the road, but maybe 5, because you don't know who these Little League coaches know. You don't know how fast this information goes there. So I think that's where I have been so disappointed in, because the information that is being like, and maybe I'm just pointing this at Major League Baseball. Maybe this isn't the thing that's going on, but I have been, I don't know if, I feel like Greg Rose told me this, that like Canada has legislation that requires youth athletics to have some sort of like elementary level of education. Like not literally an elementary education, like a softball 101 has to be taken to be a coach in a rec league, which would be, those things are so sexy to me.
Yeah, I like the idea of like having it's showing up. There's a foundational training to needing to be a coach. It's showing up, and it's still, a lot of it is still in the movement realm. Eventually I think it's gonna move into the emotional, mental realm. Like some type of background, because that's how you raise a person and a player is understanding and seeing their responses to the game and not taking it personally as a coach, and then helping them navigate like how they're going to do it next, or helping them through this thing over here, and And then so they were better over here, you know, like a little thing. Like I remember last year there.
He probably got one too. I will say before when he gets back in and we do the thing, it's the opposite. So I think that's my claim right now. I think that's what I'm trying to fight for, is exactly how he just ordered it.
Yeah.
And I'm not pointing. Oh, can you hear me, Virgil?
Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
Oh shoot. Okay, good, perfect. I thought you got a phone call. I just want to interject because that was I totally agree with you. I just think that it is movement, and I'm saying that's my claim. That's the problem. That movement is where we think we need to start with education. And I know that it's so unbelievably complicated that I feel that most young coaches are actually going to be able to tap into the emotional intelligence side of things because they already have these capabilities from their relationships, their adult relationships. And if they don't, there you go. So I love that. That's my claim, is that I wish that was ordered differently. And it's probably at your level, that's where I'd make that claim too.
Yeah, you're kind of inspiring me, maybe, because because I know MLB Network does some things too, but what if there was like, an outreach? I know during this, the Twins have had different things once a week where they taught pitching, they taught hitting, they taught infield, and the coordinators shared. And I was
yes.
What about practice plan? What about practice plan? What about efficiency of practice plan? Because that's our, you know what I mean? Like looking at.
But what were you going to say about emotion? Like how would they talk about that on MLB Network? Like how do you make that something that is redeeming airtime?
Yeah. I think they haven't. I don't know. You see it sometimes. They talk about the curveball. They talk about different things. They talk about some swing. They bring it up. I don't know how. I don't watch a lot of TV, but I've just seen some things when I'm on YouTube or something that aren't they sharing it? Don't you see it too? Or
no. And then I'm saying, okay, so then what would be the version of that? Like, okay, hey, by the way, youth coaches, this is how we should treat our teams, right? Yeah. This is how. I don't mean to get into, like, of course, John, I love that point, and I totally agree, because that's really low hanging fruit, and there's so much to accomplish there. And I'm just saying, like, sitting on where I get jacked up is you just said emotional intelligence, and I get all jacked up because that just means, like you said, knowing how to show up, and then knowing how to treat players and how they should be treating one another, and how this actually affects their performance, and that it might affect their performance more than any of the movement that I can teach them. Because my point that I see is that I am training a bunch of anxious kids that are unwilling to move the way that they're capable of, not because of how they move or their strength or their mobility, but because they don't know how to chill out, as an example. And there's many different levels to those emotions. Chill out, or maybe chill isn't the right thing. Maybe the better way to say that is they have no concept of accessing flow state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. My brain went into a lot of places right there. Yeah. A lot of good stuff. Yeah. So if we go to, what I learned is that the delivery is reflecting the personality. So you can't change one without the other. So in my experience, when I changed the way I was, so I got released and then I went back to indie ball, and then I got back with the Twins. And I remember when I got back with the Twins out of indie ball, my personality was different now. I was a different person, because now once I got released, it wasn't about getting like I have to make it. It was like, now I choose to play baseball. Like I'm here, I got released, and it was like this death of me. And then now I get to choose. And I remember in the dugout, I used to grab my hat, grab my water, grab my glove, drink my water as I'm running up the stairs, throw the cup, put my hat on, and I'm running. And it was just this chaos, right? And that was in my delivery. I was always really fast. But one day I grabbed my hat, put my hat on, grabbed my water, drank my water, set it down, grabbed my glove, and then went on the field. And it was like a revelation. Like, I can just do that much. Like that was a 3 second, 10 seconds longer, and it's like, then my delivery started becoming more in sync, because now I allowed that time to happen inside of it. Like, it's okay. It's like, because it seems like a long time, but it seems like minutes inside of there. But now it's just that allowing the hand just to come in, just allow it to do that, and then throw. Like, just wait just a minute. Like, you can do it. There's plenty of time in there, So yeah, I like what you're saying. It does show up in there.
And that's what I think is that's just what I'm finding. So the deeper that I dive into movement, the more I realize that what I've been feeling the whole entire time, and this is how I used to say it, I'm not very good at getting you to do what I know you're capable of doing. And I'm really good at it. I'm actually better than most people at getting people to move better. And so if I'm not very capable of making it happen very quickly, what the hell is Johnny's dad telling Timmy over there? Why is he talking about his swing? Because, and he's a dick. Who cares what his swing is? Quit being a dick. He'll be a better kid and a better player for you. And then he's going to, like, it's just like, and then he'll call the ball. Like, you let them be their personalities. So this is where my, I don't know. I have very different experience in my life because people let me play. I remember one of my wrestling coaches, he actually questioned my young VFW coaches. He's like, what have they taught you? I didn't have an answer. It's a great point. What have they? Well, they taught me that I could just go out there and be whoever I wanted to be and strike dudes out and throw knuckleballs and curveballs and sidearm and like we dominated. We were the best team I ever played for in baseball. It was so fun. What did they teach me? And by the way, in defense of the wrestling coach, one of the most influential people in my life was both. Right? He knew how to be both, but he also didn't see how big of a void that was going to be. You couldn't, hindsight's 2020 in that standpoint, just to where it's gotten. So being from the middle of nowhere and having that experience, and then my college coach is from Tucson. So all that he saw was like every Minnesota kid in the world was absolutely clueless. So then a little bit of this is the Johnny high school, but I was like, dude, it's deuces, baby, let's go. And I'm the dude, and I mean it. Like, I was not going to chirp you. I was going to be so obnoxious and know that the pitcher could hear me that I would take over games. And I mean it from the dugout. And it's high school, and I know it's different, and there's a level of professionalism too. But then that transition to college was like, that was gone, and it didn't come back until I was a junior and senior. And then they loved it. So John, I don't know if you've heard this story, but one of the biggest games of my life. It was a semi whatever you call the semifinal of our conference championship. And I galloped off the field after the 7th inning. I galloped off the field on a fake horse, like just a douchebag. And but those are the moments that those are kids playing, right? Those are kids playing, and I feel like, but at the same time I say douchebag, and I bet some of those antics are happening nonstop in other countries, and it makes you wonder if the game is more exciting when you can just do dumb stuff like that, and you might play better. I don't know. So,
that's a great story. I would say if the actions are in like, this is what I feel. If the actions are against another person, like it's like to show you up, then I'm not a hugest fan. But if it's an action of emotion and passion, like you're like having fun and you're just coming off, like, do your thing. But if it's like trying to come at you because of my emotion, like I love the fist, I love the bat flip, but I don't like it when it's like
with the stare down afterward.
Yeah, and they're like, and you can feel the difference. You can feel.
You can feel it if you've been there, right? But if you haven't been there, then you don't. You may miss the feeling of it,
Yeah, I don't know. I had a lot of I'd started with, I'm going there. I haven't thought of this more, so humor me. So, because I told you I didn't want to be myself. So my junior year, I just had a coming out party against the same team that this is my first time facing them. And I was dealing, and I was just like this, and I'd get a call or whatever, and I would just go like this. Like, that's all I could do. Just this wrist turn. And then it turned, then a year later, I'm galloping off the field. But
Yeah.
Oh, it's funny. That's where
Yeah.
I get jacked up, is because I see that too. I hear how John learned how to play the game, and I go, man, that sounds so much more fun. It seems like a lot of kids are yearning for that side of it. But
Yeah,
anyway.
what I'm seeing in the pro ball game since I've been here since '03 is it was like the player is who they are, like who you are, and you're either going to be a big leaguer or not going to be a big leaguer. And now it's more like, where are you now, and how can we help you develop, and what do you need, and it's like having that growth mindset, right? Growth mindset is like everything's learned. You see some things that are harder to learn than others, and there's some limitations we all have. But there are a lot of things where we can make our best better. And that's one of the wonderful things that I'm seeing inside the Twins and in baseball that's happening, is like with the new development tools that are coming out, it's like, oh, wow, we can measure this. And then we can also take them to here, and we can add this or move this or use pitch or, usage or whatever it is, and that's one thing I'm really excited about the game, is that it, like you're saying, it is moving that way.
Yeah. Go, John.
I was going to say, it just sounds like you and I resonate so much with feel, as far as feel and real. And with that being said, your use of technology and your what data that you have that you analyze your pitchers with, how deep are you on the tech side of that? Because I'm completely in. I love it. We work with Pitch Logic. We have a lot of really good data that goes from there. And I'm just wondering is about your personal experience, especially how deep you've been into the game in pro ball. What do you look for there in technology? How do you find it beneficial to you and your pitchers?
It's it. I love it. It changed the game. It changed my game. Like when I started using it 2 or 3 years ago, I was just grateful that I've been educated in it, and then being able to learn it and use it. And I went and looked back at my numbers, and I was looked down upon when I was at the Tigers because I pitched up in the zone. And I look at my numbers, I was at like a 18, 19 vertical break. And I'm like, man, that's why they called me the invisible guy. Like they say you got invisible. I'm like, because it's like it wasn't valued then, right? So the values are changing because now we have measurements and tools to give. And so it's the merging, right? It's the merging of the data and then the person. Like how do we? There's the competitor and then there's the data, and we want to merge them so that now they can go and use the tools. And we have a lot of tools, and I'm very like that's I think one thing about pro ball. It's no shortage of information. I don't know, like if you want to know what we use, Rapsodo, TrackMan. We got
I'm interested in like personally with you, like what you look, because I know we have good story. We've heard other stories of people, fixing sliders or going from there. And I have a little bit of a theory with fast, slow strategy of pitching philosophy that I'll go into later. But I'm just wondering, we don't get to talk to too many major minor league coaches like this right here, and get directly from the horse's mouth about what you look for and how you evaluate it. So if you could just elaborate a little bit more on that, when you're looking at some of these data sets.
So always start with the movement plot. I'll start there a lot, and then I'll go to the person and I'll watch them throw, because this is what I say is like, give me the person, I'll give you the numbers, right? Like the numbers are reflecting the movement patterns. And the numbers are reflecting their mindset and like, there's a certain way, like a certain arm angle is going to, and finish is going to allow for a pitch to be more, to be easier to complete. And so knowing how they throw the ball and then seeing their plot and their movement plot, and then finding a way to, enhance that, so I don't know. And so you look at their fastball, right? You look at their fastball. Where's the fastball at? And then you look at okay, how is it pairing with the breaking ball? Okay, is there spread? What's the and then you look at the shape. So when you look at the movement plot numbers, okay, and then you go look at the actual pitch. because sometimes the movement plot number will show up and it looks like a good movement on the plot, but then you go watch the pitch and it kind of like has a hump and it's just floating and they're not spinning it, they're not finishing it. And so then it might just be a finish technique. It might not be, I need to change the shape. It might be, I need to teach you how to throw it. So bite at the end, so you're kind of mirroring those two. And then we'll dive into the numbers of, their stats. How do we want to improve their stats? So they want to get more strikeouts, less walks. They want more first pitch strikes. They want to glove strike the breaking ball more often. So then we work with the mindset of like, okay, now this is what's going on over here. Now we want to, improve that. And then another thing I look at is, swing and miss, because we want punchies, we want swing and miss. So we got to look at some swing and miss. We got to look at, okay, how are we getting that? Where are we getting the zone? And then what kind of pitch usage can we use to bring that development of that swing and miss pitch into your repertoire more often? Or are you using it correctly? In the right percentages in the advantage counts where you can get those punchies. So those are a little bit, yeah.
So you did you threw a lot at me right there. So movement plot. Yeah, no, it's perfect. That's you. It was great because my brain went. I wrote down movement plot 3 times as you said it. I remember. So are you talking about motion capture of biomechanics, or is it more like video analysis and breaking it down there, or what does movement plot mean?
So I start with the movement plot of the pitch of their pitches. So vertical, horizontal break.
So this is just of the pitches when you were saying movement. Okay.
Yeah, like where are they on the movement plot?
Yeah, I see what you mean now.
Like in the Rapsodo, right? You're like, where are they? Where is it? It's at 16. Say their fastball's at 16 vertical breaks. So we know 16's average. But they're at a 130 spin axis and they have 2,200 RPMs. You're like, okay, so they have the tools, right? They have the tools to create carry. So let's change the axis so the tool can get there. But if they're at a 16 vertical break and their RPMs is at like 1900 and the way they throw the ball is like, it just kind of cocked a little bit, you can see. So then you're like, okay, let's take you down. Let's see if we can get you to get underneath the average, so you're looking at that and then you're trying to take them and then like we talked about movement of the body, in the delivery. Well, then you go to that to help assist them change that if like there's some hindrance or something blocking it. Obviously you're always going to the delivery to help them be efficient and healthy and throw so they can throw for a long time and keep working on these things. But I always, for me, it's a little different level than I think you guys are. For me, it's like, I really want to teach the competitor. And so a lot of the times it's like, I start with the pitches first and then move over to delivery. If that's what you're asking. Yeah.
No, that's a great. I mean, you just got an awesome insight into it because when you said movement plot originally, I was thinking about we went to winter meetings and happened to go to the trade show and we saw the markerless motion capture that they were installing, in the big league stadiums and stuff. Yeah. And so, I know the Twins are cutting edge, and I wasn't sure if that's what you were talking about because that was one of the coolest things I've seen. Putting that VR headset on and standing there, I was like, holy crap!
Yeah, we have that too. That's pretty amazing, man. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
The ability to see and analyze someone's movements by the angles at which their joints are sequencing. Yeah. I think, I don't know. Do you guys have any of that available as well?
We don't have marker. We don't have motion capture, but the closest thing that we get to that is we have an Apple TV with screen. We use our iPhones and we screen mirror over there with each pitch. So
one thing that is just to give if someone's watching this is I think it's called K motion. Those different things.
Yeah.
So we do those two, and those things. I have like hip shoulder separation. That's something we help the player with using that. So that's something that's affordable. That gives you a feedback as a pitcher. It's mostly used to be geared towards hitting. But I think there's one other one. There's K motion and there's like K vest, or I'm not sure exactly what.
I think it's the same thing, but yeah. Oh man.
Sorry.
Shoot. No, it's okay. I thought of like 7 things and now I forgot which one I wanted to
I want to go.
I will say this. I will say this is like the theme. This is just like this is what I'm talking about as far as the education that the conversation that we're having right now, right? Like you can't, as soon as you become affiliate, like I know my friend Weston is into Motus Sleeve. He's a pitching coach, Motus Sleeve guy. And Brian Conger is somebody that he's having a conversation with. And Brian Conger can't do what he was doing anymore because as soon as he got picked up with the Rangers, he can no longer do that. So he was at Tarleton State, I think it's State, D2 down south. I don't even know where I'm talking about. I just know these places exist. I know some of and my point is, why is that a thing? And I think that the argument is that Major League Baseball, each team wants to protect their, competitive advantage based on the hard work that they're doing. And I said this to John, I think it's silly that they haven't realized that nobody listens anyway. Like, no, and the ones that do, right? And the ones that do listen, they cannot know it the way that you know it. So I really think it's way more negative, the fact that Major League Baseball thinks that they should protect their player development stuff, because I don't know. I don't get it. I don't see people actually gaining competitive advantages by stealing other people's content. I think it's these conversations, it's asking questions, but like you could tell me every single secret that you have right now. And there's no way I'm buying completely in. And there's no way my interpretation of your information, as well as you train me, will actually be the interpretation that you have. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah,
This
it's
stuff
funny
is beyond baseball. This is like,
yeah,
don't
I
you
like you're
think so?
saying that. Like I sit here and I share, and if I'm completely honest, when I speak about these things, I have a little, I'm monitoring a little bit because I'm not sure
You're
what
guarded.
there.
Yeah.
And so that's just my honesty. And it's not that I don't want to share. Just I feel
I
like I
know.
want to protect it a little bit because I don't know. I don't know. It's what it feels like. It feels like I have to. It feels like I have to.
It's everybody though, and dude, I cannot appreciate how you just said that enough. Like, of course, and if I took a job too, I would have that same thing. But so that's where I think like it might be one of the biggest things keeping me in the private sectors, like this like ability to create these conversations, and I don't know how big my platform is yet, but anyway, that's what gets me going, man.
Yeah. I want to share. I'm a really open person.
I know, I can
I
tell.
want to share. That's why I'm loving Perfect Throw and Revolution Throwing. Is
Yes,
like
let's get on to that.
it's really helping. It's really helping the outlet of the conversation that like throwing can be healthy. Throwing can be a thing that's just enjoyable. Throwing's, supposed to hurt. Like throwing is supposed to feel good, and you're supposed to throw hard, and you're supposed to throw a lot, and you're supposed to listen to your body. And there's things, that's behind it all, and that's one I really enjoy having this business part of it and inside of the game.
So earlier when you were talking about it, I don't know where this will go, but I think that the way that I've been trying to describe it is everything seems so counterintuitive. You talked about like the amount of time within something, right? That seems so counterintuitive. That you're the fastest moving athlete on the face of the earth, right? The shoulder speeds of high velocity throwers are the fastest, but it's gonna feel slow. Like, like go forward and stay back. And so the arm late, and that's actually early trunk rotation, and that I've been trying to find ways to communicate this to athletes for years and years and years, because everybody's saying, hey, your arm's behind, you're late. No, you're early. Yes, but that doesn't do enough. I can't say that enough. I can create all of the analogies in the world, but it's not good enough. And so I just hear that's how I tee up a tool like yours, is because if there's anything that exists that can make me shut up and get you to understand what counterintuitive feels like, I'm all about it. So that's what I heard when you were teeing it up.
So close with his.
Did he
It got stuck. It did freeze. He's stuck right there.
So funny.
I know. Yeah, he was talking about off air. Hopefully he gets back in here in just a second, and he can explain it better. But he was talking about the idea of being early and how, guys that rip open and twist at the same time, that's what kind of gets them in trouble. And this allows them to feel when to do it. So you can feel the swing up of the timing because of creating momentum. Hey, welcome back. Can you hear us?
Live?
Can you hear us?
I'm on the show.
Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, and so I was really interested in the.
You guys aren't there, am I there?
Oh yeah, here we go. Let's see. I'm gonna send a message. Go ahead, Cass.
No, the linear. He said something about off air. He said something about it being like, people get like when they try to do linear arm actions, it start, stop, and then start again, and that if you're creating circles, which is the perfect throw, forces you to do that, there's never a stoppage of energy. And that is, I mean, that's what the elbow spiral is, right? It's that idea. But I'm really interested in this, especially with like even my openness to, yeah. Can you hear us?
Sorry, guys.
No, it's okay. Good. Sometimes when you get a phone call, there's a bug in the thing where when you come back in, you can't hear us. So if it kicks you out of this, you have to jump out and jump back in. I'm sorry, I should have told you that.
Okay. I also changed my internet. I went on my hotspot. So, do you want to? Can I go or you want to go?
Yeah. No. I was just teeing it up for the conversation we had off air. If you could redo that idea where you were talking about momentum and feedback of early, late, and stuff, that would be great.
So, how would I start? So what we see, right? If you're lift and turn, so it's a 1-2 pop 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 pop. So what I learned and what we teach is there's three. It's a count of three. Up, in, turn. And you guys teach that. I see it in your videos. And there's an in feeling, and the up in is hard. It's hard. It's not hard. It's something that you have to really think about. And what I learned in Tai Chi, right, is you have to focus on the movement. You learn the movement, you learn the sequence. And I think like when I'm coaching and what I see is like there's a huge jump to you can't teach them the movement because then they can't focus on the competitiveness. But you have to learn the movement, and there has to be a lot of focus on the movement first. And once you learn that, then like there's a moment where you don't have to think about it. And when you don't have to think about it in Tai Chi, the next movement, so there's a movement of breath and of focus. So, okay, now how do I add the breath to the movement? So you have to learn the movement first, then you have to learn the breath and how it coincides. So when I lift my hands up, I inhale. When I lower, I exhale. And so at the top, so the breath has to match how much movement is happening, and then the mat has to match how movement's happening down. And so you're learning in these steps. So that's what I like in throwing or whatever. It's the same. Like you got to focus on it first. Like you got to get the hand in. You got to take the back of your fingers, hit your ear or whatever the cue is, And so I lost my train of thought. And the tool, right, it helps you feel that in feeling. Like, because when you're pitching, this is what I say. I say, like, you want to bring your hand as close as you can when you're throwing slow. Because when you're pitching, you're driving off the mound as hard as you can. You're competing against a guy. You're thinking about throwing hard, which might have you fly open a little bit. Hopefully not, because you'll be in sequence. And so in all of that, when you're thinking about pulling in towards you, your hand is actually just staying. I'll go this side. It's staying in the same place. And it's almost just like coming in like this. But if I leave my hand in space and my body's going away, then there is that extension, right? So that's why you see a lot like guys like leave the hand in space. So there's this feeling of in. It's this in feeling that we talk about a lot. And what we found is when we teach the throw from the top down, so we teach the arm path first. You learn the arm path, learn what the arm has to do, and then add the power, add the body, and power that arm path, because there's a have to that has to happen. And the have to is a little different.
Did you just rookie of the year this? You my new favorite person? Are you Chet Stedman?
Yeah,
I don't know what you're talking about, but it sounds funny, bro.
Oh yeah, you just movie referenced a massive 12-year-old.
The smartest shit I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So there's a have to, right? My hand has to go down, it has to come up, it has to come in, right? There's a have to.
Yes,
It has to do that. Like if I power my body and I haven't allowed that time to happen, then I'm going to be out of sequence. And so what we found is that on time, because the release pull, we call it the release pull because power's in pulling, not the release point. The release pull is happening is an effect, is the cause of where I came from. It's the whip, right? It's whoom, and then it happens. So I want to sequence my body to power the whip. And so as we bring the perfect throw in and we're getting people to understand what's going on in their arm. And then when they get out of sequence, because they're doing it 10, 20, 30 times in a row, they can get more understanding. And then you're like, hey, did you feel you went too early? Yeah, I felt that. All right, wait for it. And then so now they wait for it and then they get a ball. And then now the conversation is, did you feel yourself go early there? Not, hey, you were early, slow down, stay back. Because what are you staying back for? Why do you stay over the rubber? What are you waiting for? You're waiting for the hand to be ready. Your body, this and the mindset of wanting to throw hard, needing to throw hard, all this stuff of like getting faster, also pulls you away from your hand. So you help the mindset of like, hey, there's plenty of time. Just get it in, feel that, and then you add that to the pitch. Yeah, what do you guys got?
I love it, man.
I got Michael Cartwright in my brain, John, as well.
I honestly, after he said that right there, we're directly in line. You repeated something I've been saying for a very long time, and it's just funny that you say that because, after breaking my elbow throwing and have to relearn how to throw, the process was I went to 4 pitching coaches, and the first thing they said was, it was your legs, something wrong with your legs, blah, blah, blah.
Always the legs.
Right. And so Cass what's cool about me and Cass is we've only been in a partnership for about a little over a year and a half right now. And all he's done from the beginning is challenge my entire thought process of what happened. Now, I broke my elbow 10 years ago or 12 years ago now, and I haven't stopped throwing since I've been healthy. I'm 34, I'm low 90s. Like I still throw all the time, just like you're saying. And so, being able to teach someone that feeling of what you're saying and the timing is turned into a sensitive but a firm subject of these things where we've created what we call the rules of throwing, right? And so when we get into the rules of throwing, which I think you're gonna like, it helps us explain movement and kids can understand it faster. And so we get to the position, if you're familiar with the pocket, that seems to be the big idea. I've actually called it the gun for a while, because when we separate those hands, the front arm kind of looks like the barrel and the arm going down looks like the pistol, so the kid can understand, what they're trying to go to, the position they're trying to throw from. That's, what I mean? And so one of the issues that I know happened to me, I feel robbed and swindled, because the year before I changed my arm path to this very short swing up to the ear thing to like this aggressive stiff throw, I didn't realize that I was out of sequence, but it was what I was told to do. And I had immediate feedback of pain and tension from the beginning for what I was throwing. And I was told that's what I was supposed to feel. 6 months later, invulsion fraction of the elbow. Obviously that wasn't it. Right. So, even that being said, the 3 rules of throwing we were talking about for the gun are: number 1, both hands have to move at the same time. Number 2, both arms never cross. And number 3, both hands pass the glove hip loosely. And so when you see someone throw and go through it, the way we've gotten into it, sounds like you and I are very intrigued by the movement flow of easiness and efficiency of what we call moving with your arms off to create a looseness type of throw. And your perfect throw product definitely seems like an aid and the feeling of that. So I love that idea. So we're gonna have to definitely snag some of those. So what do you think about that? Have you ever heard anything to that idea? I know it's
let me hand it off better than that. Sorry, but I'm gonna. So this is the thing. It's not that the rules. It's not that the what they are is what I think is so sexy, John. Like, and we should go into it, and Virgil will tell you everything about the rules. But the point is that we're going top down. And I want to plug John, because so this is my Cliff Notes 101 of my training background. top velocity was my biggest influence young in my career. It got me focusing on the back leg. I get it. It's so important. It might be the most important thing, but it's not the best way to get people to throw better. And so what I got people doing, so when basically what happened was like, on the front end of me being part of Cutternation, I'm getting John's kids, right? So they had to trust me first. So I had to wait for them to like go through this. Like, I'm new to this. John's people needed to learn how to trust me, which is fine. Totally get it. That's how relationships work. But I got kids who knew the rules. I got kids who knew how to have a fairly synced up arm pattern. Not perfect by any means, everybody's different, but pretty close to that. And then I could teach them whatever I wanted to with their legs. Like, it gave me access to just like go in. And then I'm just like, hey, remember when you didn't follow the rules anymore? Remember when you felt, I don't even want to take it away from you, Virgil, because how you were saying that, what did you say about, did you feel yourself be early? Yeah, did you feel early?
Like, hey, did you feel it? And you're like, I felt a little tenseness in my shoulder. Like, okay, that's your cue. So when you feel that, you went too early.
Yeah. And I like that we now have more access to more of this. But anyway, the top-down stuff, where are you hearing that besides yourself? Because I think that's what we're looking for is, regardless if you agree exactly with our hand idea, I think the point that we're teaching the hands is that they're connected to the brain way more closely than the legs. And so we have a distinct advantage because I can get clean patterns fastest by teaching the hands, and that's a top-down approach.
Yeah. So I want to talk about the pocket, and then I want to talk about the delivery and why it's doing what it's doing. So the pocket, I've heard about it, and one thing, we call it the rev. So when the hand comes in and you like a race car turning it, like you rev. So it's like, if we were to talk about the pocket, I follow his stuff. I've never talked to him. I really enjoy listening to him speak. I think he's helped a lot of people. And it's like pocket to rev almost, And so sometimes I see the pocket not get inside. I see the pocket pull, and it see the shortness of it, but sometimes they run away and there's like a bounce. And so one thing I look for in the throw is when they're coming in, how long does the hand stay in the arc? And so sometimes when they go, sometimes when guys lift up, it's like in and out, and some guys come in, it's like boom. And so there's a difference. So like I'm kind of looking at how long they're revving, how long. And so I've loved watching the pocket and following that guy, and then adding that rev part is like that, and like how can I add my body to power that part? And like you were saying, the top down and going early, what I learned when I changed is my body was doing what it's doing because of the ball position when I went to fire. So like everyone always got mad at my body, but it was doing the right thing. It was doing the exact thing it needed to do, because if my arm is extended behind me and straight and long, and I'm trying to throw the ball 100 miles an hour against that guy, I'm going to fly open because it's going to make the ball go faster. But if I put the ball right here, I don't fly open anymore, because when I move the front side, it doesn't move the ball. So now I move from the hip, and then it turns everything. So what I learned is, like, as I did it longer and longer, then the body started reorganizing itself, because now it's going to move efficiently to the new weight implement, right? So now I allowed that sequence, and then now it had to reteach itself how it's going to move. Thoughts?
So that's Dave Coggins, right?
Coggins, I really like the guy. Yeah.
So sure. John, I'm glad you brought him up, because we should try to get him on the podcast.
That'd be great.
Yeah, and it's just so much with the inside stuff, because the in is what I don't think we've been like saying enough. Using it enough. Just like that 3 parts. I'm so attracted to that.
Yes, 1, 2, 3. And then when you use the perfect throw, there's 3 arcs. There's the one behind your back, then there's the one that you finish, and then the one to bring yourself back. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So then all of a sudden the guy's like, ow, and it's not moving. But when you hold the rev ball, so the rev ball and the secured ball, but when you hold the rev ball, now it's only momentum. It's only the arcs. So you're moving in circles and arcs. And now when you're doing it correctly and you're allowing this to move around you without getting out of the way to move it, right? Sometimes the flying open is like you see people move their body when they're throwing and they're getting out of the way to get the ball in front of them. But how can I get the ball in front of me without getting out of the way? How can I create the movement in the pattern so that it just wants to finish? It just wants to do it. You don't even have to tell. You don't have to do anything for it.
So we talk about a offset fidget spinner on energy creation and throwing, and how when the arm comes around, if you can match that path with both hands, and this can pull down on this energy and help create the angle of what you're trying to do, and you can rotate much more efficiently. And so when I see guys, launch the elbow and the hand in front, like you're saying, I like that rev idea that goes into layback to go through. One of the things that we talk about is finishing as fast as you can on your pitch to make sure that you go through. That way, when you come through on it, then everything comes through, and then you are connected for what you're saying. And so we're having a lot of fun, keeping the competitive level high for the relative age for the kid, and making sure they understand what the goal set is that is a lot lower. Where, for example, we've got 9-year-olds that have been with us for a couple of years now, or with me and now with Cass, where all they've done from the beginning is try to throw hard into a box. That's been the thing, right? We try to get them in some of these positions. We turn the radar gun on and let them understand that they're competing against themselves, and the velocity is a level leaderboard game, and you're trying to get up the leaderboard as quickly as you can according to what you're trying to do. As long as you're not, in pain, as long as you're not feeling tension, as you said, or drag, or whatever you want to call it. And so the longer that we're seeing guys that are able to throw, I think we're starting to understand that, like, the perfect throw idea, or learning the momentum with your story also, is that this takes a massive amount of time, right? And if we can have people learn the feel part of that feel good throwing action earlier in their life, and that's what they handle throughout their whole life, I see a completely different throwing experience and baseball experience for all baseball players who understand how to have a strong arm. Really is just like how to be able to do it without thinking.
Yeah, and being able to do it, like using the body to throw the arm. Like I remember I gave this to one of my coaches, and he was doing it. It's like, I have shoulder surgery. I got pins in my shoulder. I can't do it. I'm like, just try it, man. You'll be fine. Like, just do it. And he goes and he starts doing it, and we're just in the locker room too, so there's not a lot of room. And he does it a couple of times. He's like, it doesn't feel like I'm using my arm, man. It doesn't. I'm like, exactly. You found it. Like that's the feeling. Like that's like you're saying. You got to teach the feeling. There's an aha moment that happens, and you guys probably see it too. They're like, they come in, they feel the rev, and they'll boom, and they whip it, and they're like, oh, I felt it. So then sometimes they don't always return, but that aha moment, that's it. That's then they can, that one time, and then now it's about, okay, how do we redirect into that? How do we redirect into that?
I'm really excited to get this in my hand. I'm serious. Like, I've seen it, and I'm sorry, but I just wasn't, like, the light bulbs were not going off fast enough.
No, we haven't done a good enough job.
Well, I think this is a great way to explain it, because like you said, what you said off air about feeling the timing and everything, and then how you explained it right now, it was immediately, I was like, no, okay, we're getting one. Cast.
And it's like Brett Engel is one of our young players that throws the ball really well. And he does have some early issues, but he comes here like relentlessly. And so like, and so I can see he revs as well as anybody. He's got a great freaking rev, and
he's 9.
And he's 9. Like they did it, but like you don't have to teach them. So now you what those guys.
But I want to make sure I don't screw it up. Like, do not screw that up. And then I'm thinking about other guys who we like, oh man, they just sorry. Yeah.
But you guys do it. I watch your Insta all the time. I watched it for years. And that's why I'm grateful to be here with you guys. And like you guys do it, that big front side, and then the guys come boom, and you guys are doing it against that net that you guys have.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch. I'm like, all right, they're doing it. All right. And I'm always watching, because if I watch whatever, I don't know if I'm 100% right, but if I watch, I'm like, ouch, no, ouch, no, ouch, no.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure. That's what we're trying to get kids to feel. That's the whole relationship with the radar gun to the location to the video, like you were saying before. The idea that we have at Cutternation basically is turned into, if I was 12, right, what would be the best possible setup that I could have for my 12-year-old self to allow me to become a professional? Right. And so whatever technology that we can get, or video or tool that is going to allow us to help people advance quicker. Right. Like Virgil, I saw a 12-year-old in Mexico throw 90 miles an hour. It blew me away. It was at the academy in Monterey, and I remember being like, what is going on? And then you find out it's a former big leaguer's son, and he's been going to ballpark since he was 3.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay. What'd you do? Oh, well, we just threw. He threw since he was 3. He went to the field and he threw. And then he
threw like you. That's what he did. He watched you do it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Dad was a gangster outfielder and had a cannon. So yeah. For sure. Watch dad threw like the other guys who had cannons. Mm-hmm. Right. And we hear it all the time with big leaguers' kids, and how they're advanced and they're talented and all that stuff. But I think, to your point about the growth mindset, about how everything's learned, like the exposure to that high level movement pattern, and not understanding what it is and just doing it out of like, oh, I see this guy doing it, I'm going to do that, and changing the way that you think about the rev or the load or stay inside the 90, follow the rules, the pocket, all these things that are yet so complicated, to as adults we can bring it, but the kids that need to learn this information need to know what's the easiest idea we can get to do that, or teach them to feel it.
Yeah, what's the easiest? Yeah, and like you were saying, that you're one of the guys he already does it, and so my buddy and my business partner Alex Trezza, he already did it. He was a catcher, and now he's a pitching coach at Boston College. He already did it. And what he did when we were talking about it, when I was showing him the perfect throw, is he's like, oh, now I understand why. And so, like, because consistency comes from understanding. So if I can feel it, understand it, I can have more consistency, I can repeat. And so, having that, oh, I get it. Okay, now what's the sequence? And then, we even improved since we've developed the perfect throw. We've only been selling it for 6 months now. It's, we've developed over the last 3 years. But it's really that idea, that feeling, this has been a great conversation, guys. I'm really enjoying this.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, I didn't know that we were, like I said, I hadn't, Brian recommended me to you, and I've seen your product on there, and shout out to Brian Eisenberg for the connection, because, I think he knew that we would hit this off. So, I don't want to eat up too much of your time. It's been a little bit of an hour. So, I really appreciate it. We're going to have to do this again. We got to get your business partner on here. And, any high level pitching coaches, we love to talk to everybody here. Our main goal with this is to help educate, our audience, or, really anybody, because there's so much information that's out there that we just like to help at least our followers know the people that we like to follow, and we see things that we like. So I appreciate you taking a little time out of your day and jumping over here. Why don't you just help everybody understand, where we can go to get the perfect throw, how to follow you, and maybe a little bit about what's coming up in the future. I know we got some weird times, but this is probably the time to work on arm path, right?
Yeah, arm path at home, practice at home. The times are really actually affecting me a little bit. But you can find us at revolutionthrowing.com. At Revolution Throwing on Instagram. That's our most prominent feed share. We have Facebook and Twitter, same Revolution Throwing. And I think Rev Throwing is our Twitter. But yeah, we just want to help. There was one thing I wanted to finish off with. It's just like a final tip, I guess you could say, is like we're talking about, whoever's the throwing, whatever you're practicing, listen to your body. If it doesn't feel like if you guys like you and you're teaching these and the guys, if it's right, you'll feel like, oh, there's something to it, but I have to practice that more to really master it. But if you do it and you're like, it's not really right, it doesn't really feel good, really listen to your body, because the answer lies in there, and we're just trying to help them find that with all these different cues we're talking about, all these different things. It's we want to help them find that, whoa, there, okay, now how to add the next piece, so that they can go and they don't need us anymore. They just go, you just get out and come back when you want, but listen to the body, because that feeling there's something instinctual inside of us that's really going to help us continue to throw healthy, so we can, like you said, you're 34 throwing above 90, I'm 37 through 89 last year, letting it eat a little bit.
Yeah.
But
I saw a 4-year-old throw 100 in Mexico. It was crazy.
Yeah, it's supposed to, it wants to do it. It wants to coil. It wants to release. It wants to whip. But listen to it. It'll tell you how to move.
That's awesome. I really
Dude,
appreciate
it's been
it,
a
Virgil.
pleasure. This is fantastic, man. I'm so
Yeah,
excited.
we'll definitely
I'm gonna
this
get your
going
cell
again.
phone and be texting you up a little bit.
Please, I want it, man. I want to talk. I want to get more of that.
Yeah, we're down for sure. We'd love to help the Twins.
You're in Santa Barbara?
Yeah. I'm in Santa Barbara.
That's where you're from?
Yeah,
Where
born
are you
and
from?
raised here. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Right
awesome.
on. Well, Virgil, I appreciate it, guys. Go follow Revolution Throwing. Pick up a perfect throw. This has been a really, really good conversation. I appreciate it. Thanks for giving in your insight to your mindset and everything. It's been awesome to connect. I'm sure we will connect again in the future. This has been really good stuff. So, guys, appreciate it. Go follow them. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. And if you need anything else, hit us up. So, appreciate it again. And